Welcome all to the SnailTrail4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, renting on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun in Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how fantastic recovery equipment is in Toyotas, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and germs. My name is Tyler, and joining me for another episode of SnailTrail4x4 podcast is the one and only, the recovery maestro himself, Jimmy Jett. How you doing, man?
I am doing well. Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
Good.
Yeah.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's Monday, so we're excited to be through the weekend. Did some fun stuff. We'll tell everybody about it on Thursday. But today we have a really fun show for you guys. But before we get to it, we get to talk about some housekeeping stuff real quick, as always. Just a reminder, in case there's like a new listener that's like, hey, this is the first time I've listened to Snail Trail 4x4. And it'll probably be the last time you do too after, I don't know. Well, it might be a little better. We have a cool guest on the show today, but if it was just me and Jimmy, you'd probably be like, that wasn't that great to listen to the rest of them.
Way to put us down like that. But before you make that judgment, you might as well listen to some of the fun items that we have to give away.
Yep.
Today is the last day to get in for the Factor 55 Hammer Loop and hammer strap and ultra hook.
Yeah.
Did I get them all right this time?
Yep.
Sorry, Justin. I messed up the ultra hook like all month long. Anyways, you can get in for those over on iRate 4x4. Go down to the watch, listen, and discuss section, and then sign up for the giveaway tier. And that giveaway ends today. Which also means tomorrow the gift box tier is open.
Ooh, what?
If you want to get a gift box from Tyler and I, you can do that over on iRate 4x4. Same exact way. Sign up for the gift box tier, but that starts tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And then you will get a gift box from us in April.
Yeah.
That also being said, our gift boxes are going out.
Yay!
So if they aren't out already, because we are a little in the future here, they will be going out soon. So you should be keeping your eyeballs on the mailboxes, and you will be getting a gift from Tyler and I if you've been signed up for those last 6 months.
Yep. It's really cool. We'll talk about this gift box is kind of getting dedicated to a program, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Well, a program's a great way to, that's not giving it away.
Yeah. So we'll get to talk about it. It's going to be a really kind of exciting thing that kind of Jimmy and I have been working on the idea and concept for a long time. And then I finally got it kind of put all together. And so we'll get to finally talk about that once the gift boxes are out and you guys have them so that we're not blowing the surprise for everybody. So let's see what else we have. Reviews over on Apple Podcasts that you guys can do. We are approaching 700 reviews. So at 700, we're doing a swag pack. So it's going to come with some Snail Trail stuff, Snail Armor, more Flate, some other companies to work with. We probably have some Factor 55 stuff around here too.
Probably.
So we'll get you guys a fun, awesome swag pack put together with an Onyx Elite membership, a 1-year membership to Onyx Off-Road. So that's the trail mapping software for your phones, mobile devices, works on computers as well. We'll have a 1-year subscription there for a lucky winner. So all you got to do is make sure you leave a review on Apple Podcasts before 700.
Yeah, before 700 to get into that.
Yep.
But if you leave it before we get to 750, you have a chance to win a set of tires from Yokohama.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Almost any set of tires that you want. It just needs to be DOT approved and smaller than a 20-inch rim, which includes pretty much all their street tires, all their tow tires, and all their off-road tires.
Yep. There's a lot of tire options that falls into that category. So let's see. Thank you. Huge shout out to Yokohama for doing that, stepping up. They totally did that. We did not purchase the tires. That was them being like, hell yeah, let's support the podcast, support the listeners, do something cool for them. So huge shout out to Yokohama for doing that. Huge shout out to Onyx for giving us a few elite memberships to give out. Let's see. Anything else?
Big shout out to Factor 55 and Warren for this month's giveaway.
Yep.
I don't think so. I think that's pretty good. We did have a long listed interview here with the professional gabber himself.
Yes,
Justin. So I say we jump over to that.
Sweet. Go ahead, everybody. Grab your favorite soft shackle. Grab your favorite bow shackle, and grab your favorite pulley, and we'll be right on back with today's campfire discussion with Justin over at Factor 55 because we get to talk about some really cool new products as well as some fun myth busting.
If you have a 3rd Gen 4Runner and want 16 inches of wheel travel without cutting into your sheet metal, check out 4-Wheel Underground's brand new cantilever suspension, featuring an integrated anti-sway bar and turn-by-dial disconnect. Don't sacrifice performance and comfort for the sake of wheel travel. Get both with our new cantilever system at 4wheelunderground.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to today's Campfire Discussion. We are here live. Well, we're live, but this is totally not live in any way, shape, or form. We are online with Justin from Factor 55. Welcome back to the show. How the hell are you, man?
Doing well, my man. Doing well. Just been busy as ever, just coming off of a whole month worth of events, stacking up from Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion out in Tennessee. Yep. And we did the 6th annual Wheeling with Warren at Windrock Park event, cool. Which was a total home run. So we got a new video from that dropping later this week. Then we had Sand Sports Super Show this last weekend in Costa Mesa, and then now headed to Trail Hero starting this week. So it's the big stack up because, we got Off-Road Expo in Pomona is also this weekend, which we are not going to, but we will be at Trail Hero all next week with sponsored trail rides and all that stuff. So a lot of activity, man. Just never ends.
Yeah, my event guy, who's also Justin, he's going crazy too. And I'm like, dude, after this month, you need to take like a month off. Like there's just so much shit going on right now. But yeah, dude, it's going to be pretty nuts. So I have a question for you. Speaking of Wheeling with Warren, when are we going to do a Wheeling with Warren on the Rubicon?
Oh man, isn't that's the question of the day, my man. Like I really want to get up there so bad, specifically for around, we've been this year, we did a title sponsorship with Jeep Jamboree USA. So we were supporting all the Jeep Jamborees that were going on. Mm-hmm. And then we also had some staff show up to Jeepers. But myself and some of the other core marketing staff, we did not have a chance to make it up to the Rubicon yet. So it's definitely been on the docket. So my Jeep currently is getting motor swap done on it. And so I think that once I get my JK back, it'll really help to really, be able to have a place to where I can get, I have my Jeep back. So I'll be able to do like specific things and call those out. So we can not only support like our dealer visits as we're doing that, and then plan a trip to do some, really cool, badass things up there at the Rubicon, and definitely, go wheeling with you guys.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. We're going to be probably out at Jeepers next year. We did a big inflation station to get everybody aired up at the end of the trip in Tahoma and get them on their way. So everybody absolutely loved it. So we'll be back again next year. And I think I'm going to try and get down and be at Jeepers attending the whole week long next year. So that'd be really rad to see some of the Warren and Factor 55 people down there.
Oh, 100%. I mean, dude, especially like for what, for the way that you guys, as far as Moreflake is concerned, has been killing it. I mean, dude, like your social ads have been going great. You know what I mean? You're getting presence out there. Oz has been crushing it at every event that he showed up to. Yeah. I mean, so he's a great, he's a great ambassador for you guys, right? Because the guy's got such a knowledge base, especially from the way that people wheel in Australia and that kind of thing. And then, dude, even with, again, like the Hell and Back Adventures from Flex Rocks and Rollover.
Yeah, with Marvin.
They're just they're just dropping their videos right now, and it's like, dude, to see especially your guys' new, hub deflator, and that whole thing, it's so badass. It's great. I mean, I think it's amazing, man. Like what you guys are putting into for engineering and product development that way, and it's a total home run, man.
Maybe we can do a collab sometime with Warren and Factor 55 and have a red and green Christmas package for people.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. I'm all about that. I named my daughter after a Christmas movie, man. So I'm all in. Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm all in, dude. Christmas is the best time of the year, man.
All right, so here's a good question for you. We're gonna get way off topic now.
I know where this is
Die
going.
Hard a Christmas movie?
Dude, as far as I'm concerned, hell yes it is. Okay, of course it's a Christmas movie.
Come on.
Bruce Willis can be as cool guy as he wants to and say that it's not, but whatever. That thing is 1,000% a Christmas movie.
All right, what about Iron Man 3?
Oh, deep cut. Ooh, interesting.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I know, that's interesting. I would have to, I'm gonna give that a pass.
I
would not think of that as a Christmas film. But I got to give that one a pass. That's a deep cut.
Sounds
Good
like you
job
just
there.
need to revisit it.
Yeah.
And then
Heck yeah, man. That's going to put that in the circulation. That's awesome.
revisit it
I love
and then give us a call on our hotline and let us know your conclusion.
Hell yeah, that's great. That's so good, Tyler. I'm like, that's awesome. That's the best question ever. I'm going to post that on social. That's amazing.
Was it Gear Wrench Corey? We did a full episode on what is and what is not Christmas movies, and we just got into these big back and forth arguments on it. Was completely off the topic. What is not Christmas movies? And
good.
it was funny.
Yeah, it was like a bonus episode for us. Yeah, that was fun.
I love that. Iron Man 3. That's great.
I want to know, what engine are you swapping in or out?
Yeah.
Well, so that's that's the interesting little anomaly. So I've got a 08 JK, and it's a 2-door. It's stretched and the whole thing, right? And so it's been this, I had the 3.8 liter in there, and it was, it's gutless little wonder that motor is for those Jeeps, but it's always been fine, for rock crawling the whole thing. And it just, I got the Jeep when it had like 90,000 miles on it. And then, it finally let go at about 170.
Yeah.
And it just was, dude, I had hydrolocked the motor. I mean, I beat the balls off that Jeep, you know what I mean? So like, it was it went through a lot of abuse. So then it turned into being this thing where we were looking at doing the JKL stretch on it, and then trying to, pass it around to different guys because, dude, I'm on the road all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And because of work, it's hard to be able to have that thing and wanting it to get it done right and really having the vehicle back and ready to go to wheel. So what we had planned on doing right now is we're actually going to take the 3.6 Pentastar and actually put that in there with the newer JK transmission into the older JK.
Okay.
That was kind of what we landed on, only because it's still all OE parts and it's all these things. But then what just came up actually at Smoky Mountain was that
a Toyota 4.7.
Well, yeah. So Tyler, who a guy just bought Tom's 4x4 in Chattanooga,
okay,
recently, and he's actually come up with a Hemi swap that you can actually pull a Hemi out of older Grand Cherokees and have that thing swap into these other, older Jeeps with a standalone wiring harness.
Nice.
And so that's something that we're now starting to look to promote because, instead of trying to go through the whole thing with the LS and all these things, I mean, even with like the homie deals, you're still spending $20,000 or $30,000 to try to get that done.
Yep.
And so it's a lot of money, dude, when you're just, I'm just a dude that works at a company, you know what I mean? Like, and even though like the bill to be in a lot of places and do those kinds of things, you also still, it's still like my car, you know what I mean? Like it's like still my daily driver and it's all these things. And so I want the thing to still work, work functionally. So there's a couple of options right now. I got to give a big shout out to Martin Castro, formerly of Milestar, who now is working for SoCal Expedition in Freight Factory. And so Martin's actually doing the swap on the JK for me at his shop in California. So he just got the entire front end disassembled and pulled the whole axle out because of the custom, skid plates and all the things that were done underneath there. He had to rip the entire like whole drivetrain out just to get at the transmission. So it's in pieces, but dude, I got to tell you, man, like it was a real special thing to been in this industry for so long and how much we love wheeling and off road. And like he sent me a picture the other day that Bailey Cole is now working with them as well. And
nice.
Yeah. And so now it's Martin and Bailey. And like, dude, 10 years ago, if you would have told me these two guys to be working on my Jeep, blows my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're talking about one of the winningest, like, Ultra 4 racers right now, on top of like how great of a mechanic the Martin is. And I cannot thank these guys enough for what they're doing. So ultimately it's going to be a little box of a mystery, man. We're going to see what happens, but hopefully we'll have that done here maybe before King of the Hammers. So pretty excited.
That's pretty funny. I didn't know that Martin was that good of a mechanic and fabricator. My experience with Martin, you typically revolves around tequila. So he's
indeed it does. Yeah. He's actually like an ASE like certified mechanic. That's what he was doing before he ever started working for Vulcan and even working for Savvy and then Milestar. Like, I mean, dude, the guy is incredibly talented in so many ways, and I cannot say enough good things about that guy. I mean, one thing was we were in Tennessee and we were doing we got with Chris Durham, who I think you guys are probably familiar with. Chris Durham, does a lot of those like high end, fiberglass conversions and different grills and things for Jeeps and stuff. And Chris is just a phenom when it comes to what he's capable of doing as far as fabrication mechanics go. And man, I watched like Chris and Martin like talking about like what training was in like a 72 like Chevy pickup and what you could pull out of this and put into that and what gear, like, just crazy tribal knowledge things that are just, just to see that these two dudes just have, I don't know, it was just fascinating. Right. I mean, so it's so cool, man. I love seeing that, man. When you like, just like all the conversations we have, when you find guys that are on the level, that is so cool, man. You know what I mean? Guys that really just know their stuff is just, I love that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, it was funny. I was out with a group of guys that were more overlanders, and we went over to this guy's house who's a really good fabricator. And so I had my 4Runner over there, which is on 40s and dual case and all the fun stuff with it. And we're all sitting down talking, and the group of guys I was with was kind of like talking about different lights, right? Different lighting options, what light bars they want to run, what ditch lights they want to run, all this stuff. And I was like, I'm getting kind of bored of this conversation. So I was like, I'm going to go test the fabricator guy over here. His name's George. And so I go over to George. I'm like, I see you got a rear 4-link on your Tacoma here. How did you fit the coilovers? You got them up into the bed and you got a fuel cell. How's the fuel cell go with California and blah, blah, blah. And we started talking, and all of a sudden we're talking about different transfer cases and gear ratios and how he set up the carrier in his axles and all this other stuff. And pretty soon you could just tell everybody else that was talking about lights was kind of sitting around staring at us like we were speaking another language. And it was just one of those moments where we stopped for a second and realized what was going on. And we're like, oh, that's
got
right.
It. Got it.
Moved
Okay.
on to the next level.
Yeah.
We're outside.
Is there anywhere that people can go to follow along with the build and what you've got going on with that Jeep?
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is gonna start to tease that back out on the social, because I used it for honestly the last time that I wheeled the thing, at this point has been almost 3 years ago. So because like I was telling you about the last time when I was on the podcast, from that timeline of going through the whole process of dealing with COVID, and then the acquisition by Warren, and then that whole transition, and then what events look like, and how that was how that ended up to where we are right now. It was also parts and availability, right? I mean, you couldn't get radiators, and you couldn't just what I'm saying, you just couldn't get stuff. And so the build like literally has just been sitting, and it's not that I haven't been wheeling, I just haven't been wheeling my own Jeep, right? So it ended up being like the JT, our Warren JT, the JL that we have there, even the FabTech JL that we have. And so and then even wheeling the side-by-side, our Razor, or I think we have an XP 1000, I think that's the side-by-side that we have that using all the UTV events. Like, dude, I'd never wheeled a side-by-side before. You know what I mean? Like, I jumped in the thing and was like, I put it in 4-wheel drive by pushing this button.
Yeah.
That's what it says button. You know what I mean? Like watching guys like air their tires up with a bike pump. Like that was like really foreign to me. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So that was an experience. So we're going to start as we get closer to the, kind of the finish line with this thing. It'll be teasing out both on Factor 55 socials and also with Warren.
Cool.
Because tie in with a lot of new products that are coming down the pipeline too. We'll be using those to show off. So one thing that we will be seeing is some of the other rigs within our organization, with the video that we're about to drop from Smoky Mountain. We have Matt Black, which was the V8 swap TJ, that it was one of the very first bruiser conversion builds that was done in 2013 for SEMA.
Nice.
And that Jeep was owned by Spiderweb Shade for years. And now Sergio has it. And that was the Jeep that we actually raced the Baja 1000 in. And so that's now been acting as a pre-runner, using that for the Hammers and for all the rest of the Ultra 4 races and stuff. And so we actually had that Jeep out at Windrock. And then Brad Goodfellow, who's our marketing operations manager, Brad also has his LJ that he just did a full 4-link, Curry swap, did a 60 in the rear. And I think he did a Pro Rock 44 in the front. But that Jeep is also was just on the hell and back the 24 Hellenbach that they just filmed 2 weeks ago, which then will launch on YouTube in the December timeframe. So there's a lot of that thing where people will see a bunch of the other company rigs, and so that's where we're starting to do these things as Marvin, excuse me, is now doing these things with Flex Rocks and Rollovers with the Hellenbach Adventures. There'll be some other things that'll be featured out on some of the other YouTube channels and some of the other guys that we support in our industry. So there's going to be a lot of places where people are going to be able to not only catch this Jeep, but all the rest of the builds that'll be, they're within our organization.
Nice. That'd be cool. You mentioned a couple little tidbits there. I don't know if people caught, but you guys have a bunch of products in the pipeline. You've obviously released quite a few last month, and we're starting to see more information about them and hear more about the benefits of them. We're giving away a few products this month on the podcast for some of those new stuff. Do you want to go through some of them and kind of help people understand what you guys have been doing with all this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sweet. Let's start off with the Hammer series items.
Awesome. So we released this last year at King of the Hammers. We kind of jumped the gun in a release to getting parts done before they were launched onto our websites or even out and being available. We haven't even really talked a lot about it on socials, only just because there's just been so much going on. But we're really going to start drive kind of the messaging home here about those, especially leading up into this year's KOH. But the Hammer series products that we kind of developed were stuff that were just kind of like necessities that came out of the best use case scenario for these guys with racing KOH. So one of the products is called the Hammer Strap. The Hammer Strap was initially developed in a way to be a dedicated rock anchor sling that would be something that would be quick to deploy. It'd be lightweight, easy to recover after using it, and something that was going to be really simple to throw around a rock and also gather it back. Because the problem is, if you take like a 30-foot toe strap, like our standard duty toe strap, for instance, well, our standard duty toe strap is 2 ply, so it's 2 layers thick and it's 30 feet long. And so that strap weighs 10 pounds. Like it's high dense polyester. So there's a lot of mass to that thing. So like when you think about like our recovery kits, like our standard recovery kit, or like the basic winching and vehicle assisted recovery bag that we offer, our Sawtooth kit, that whole kit only weighs 23 pounds. 10 pounds of that kit is just that one strap.
Half of the kit.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like it's a hefty little thing. Now, especially if you're like your adrenaline's pumping and then you got to bust your ass like climbing up a rock trail to set the strap for your driver, right? It's a lot to deal with. So what we came up with is it's actually a 20-foot strap. So we took 10 feet out of it. It's single ply, so it's 1 layer thick, and then the majority of the center section of the strap has got a Cordura sheathing protecting the majority of that would be around the rock face. Now, in that Cordura sleeve, right in the middle is a visual indicator that's been sewn into the strap. So what that does is now you have rolled eyes. So the eyes are folded over on themselves. So it doesn't matter whether you're using Factor 55 product or any product, you can actually quickly attach to the eyelet of the strap. And then because of the visual indicator, you have the protected sleeve that's in there with that visual indicator. Now the co-driver can get out and throw that strap around a rock, visually see, to always have a reference where the center of the strap is. So you can pull either to the left or to the right to adjust to where the eyelets can get connected to the fastest. Because as you guys know from all the winching and stuff that you've done, if you wrap around a rock, if the eyelets are over to the right hand side, that's the direction that you're going to winch to, because it's going to bite down behind the rock. If you get it to the left, it's going to go more in that direction. So it allows the co-driver to basically set that recovery point faster and also in the right direction by knowing where the center part of the strap is. And then the entire strap weighs less than 3 pounds.
Jeez.
Whoa. Okay.
So now you can wrap this thing up. It doesn't weigh anything. You can get it up there, deploy the thing, get to the eyelets quicker, snap them in, winch, get undone, and then go, and then still be able to recover that strap off of the rocks and even dump it back into your floorboard. And as you're moving through the rock trails, either wind it back up to keep it organized, or just even leave it at your feet.
Yeah.
And so after racing KOH this last year and the year before, it really started to dawn on me some of the things that we really needed to help to develop in that space. So that's where the hammer strap has really come out of. And it really got, honestly, it was a lot of influence too, even from Tom Ways. Tom was always like, he would come by the booth and be like, hey man, I don't want one of these 30-foot toe straps. It's too long. It's too much shit to deal with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just want something that's lightweight. I can throw in here and get it done, and even leave it on the trail if I have to. And so that's where kind of, the idea of the hammer strap kind of was born, to give it those extra little bit of features. So that's a brand new product. It's super kick-ass, I think, for best case uses in that scenario. It's not good for everything. It's not, and that's not what it's meant for.
Yeah.
But it is very good in this situation, right?
Yeah.
And for smaller rocks, you can do it in a configuration what is called a wrap basket. So like a tree saver is typically 8 to 10 feet. And you guys know from winching on trees, I mean, sometimes that's not long enough to get around the base of some of these trees.
Yep.
So the 20 feet gives you enough of that distance. And if you're around something that's too small or it's too much strap, well, then you just simply wrap it around the tree a couple more times.
Yep.
And then that becomes something that can then choke down with still retaining the minimum braking strength of the basket configuration of that polyester sling.
Nice.
So it's a very versatile tool, especially for how lightweight it is. And, but dude, it was born to be race specific, right? That's what that's what its intention was. And then from the hammer strap, then we also came up with the hammer loop. So years ago, when developing the Ultra Hook, right, the Ultra Hook was really, that thing to be able to not only did it have the closed system shackle mount at the end of the hook tab, integrated rubber pads, all replaceable parts with the latches, because we machine all that thing. But Ultra 4, Ultra Hook, right? So this was kind of our race specific kind of thing, because it's half the weight of any steel conventional hook. It's twice as strong, and it gives you all these different rigging options to attach to. Well, one thing that kind of was brought up, honestly, from JT Taylor, who was the race director for Ultra 4, was that when it came to the recovery crews, he was, and all the volunteers that come out there, they wanted something to where, how can we flip a vehicle back over the fastest?
Yeah.
Well, from the tow truck world, if you're using a J hook or one of those big open hooks that a lot of tow truck drivers use, they're only good if they can be used under constant tension.
Yeah.
And in off-road, we never have constant tension.
No.
Right? So it's not a good scenario for what that is. So when they start to winch, or it starts to come over and they're slacking the line, the hook just falls off. So then he was like, dude, I need a hook that I can just snap over 2-inch DOM. Soft shackles aren't fast enough. We all know, depending on the brand or the type of soft shackle you use, that noose can get really tight around the knot and they can be hard to undo.
Yep.
So it's not that fast. So he wanted something that was quick, super effective, and something that could flip the car right back over.
Yeah.
So that idea kind of born into what is become now the hammer loop. And that started out with an idea of taking just a piece of synthetic winch line, taking our fast fit, our rope splicing tool product, splicing 2 eyes at the end of a small piece of winch line extension, essentially, and then using it to either splice it on the eyelet of the Ultra Hook or choke it on the eyelet of the Ultra Hook, then giving you a free loop on the other end to where you could just snap it in the hook throat opening and unsnap it and be done. So you're basically integrating a soft shackle into the end of the Ultra Hook that now is big enough that you can wrap it around an axle, you can wrap it around any kind of smooth surface that you have, like it was available. And what I initially thought was going to happen was I was going to teach people how to do this, take a piece of winch line, splice some loops, figure it all out. Yeah. And it just turns out, people are lazy.
Yep.
So
convenience, man.
So it just ended up being a full-blown product that we've now released. That product is the hammer loop is now available in a way to where it's actually an endless loop that's spliced together. And then it has a bigger eyelet on one end, a small eyelet on the other. The big eyelet is used to choke through the shackle mount on the Ultra Hook. And then the smaller eyelet is used to snap into the hook throat opening. And then it has a braided jacket through the entire center section of that shackle,
line.
essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that polyester braided jacket there then also will help to protect it from abrasion.
Yeah.
And so it breaks at close to 28,000 pounds, which is still 10,000 pounds above what your winch line, your average 3/8 winch line fails at.
Yeah.
So it's still stronger than the winch rope. And dude, it is crazy convenient.
Dude,
like now,
that's something that is super clever that one of the first years I was down at Carriage, might have been year 2, I got to do side-by-side recovery at back door, right? And we probably rolled over 70 to 75 side-by-sides that day.
Totally.
All with soft shackles. And you're absolutely right. You're having to climb up and over the cages while the people are inside. You're trying to talk to them to help pass the time while you're doing this. The crowd's watching you. And you're trying to hook this soft shackle onto a spot, and then you have to get it undone afterwards, and it's all tight together. Whereas if you just had the hammer loop, yeah, you just slam it around the tubing wherever it is most convenient and hook it and pull them back over. And then unhooking is just unhooking through the ultra hook. There's no having to slip this knot and loop over each other again. So
yeah, and you're totally done.
And that's
right?
But that's something that only comes out when you're in the middle of doing a very specific job in a very specific setting like this, like you guys do. So it's cool.
And what's great about this is that just like a soft shackle too, it doesn't need to live there because it can because it just chokes down over top of the eyelet of the ultra hook. That thing, you know what I mean? You can just unchoke it off the eye when you're not wheeling and just throw it in the glove box.
Yeah.
Right. Just like any other soft shackle.
Yep,
so it's a really great tool that's super versatile for all those reasons. And so now, you know, even for some of the things like on small trees, that thing is fat enough and wide enough that it's not like putting all the pressure of a single winch line choking around a tree because it's two lines thick plus that sheathing. So the whole thing is almost, I mean, geez, man, it's almost 1.5 inches tall. So it's not one single piece of winch line that could also choke into a tree. So even if you get a small anchor point or a smaller tree to wrap around, you may not even need the tree saver. You may be able to just pull this thing out and just snap, you know, wrap it around there and just snap it in the hook throat opening and be done.
Yeah.
And so it takes things from being something that could even be 30 seconds, maybe if you're really fast at it, or a couple of minutes, to knocking it down into just seconds.
Yeah.
And as we all know, especially when it comes to racing, you know what I mean? Because of the time trials and everything, you know, your start to finish times and the whole deal. JP, like, look, starting in the back, came back and won KOH this year.
That was so
right?
crazy.
So yeah, exactly. So everything comes down, like, you know, you could be starting 10th off the line, but man, if you're saving minutes, those minutes end up making up to where you can get closer to be winning.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a very cool thing to add in the strategy thing, because it also will help to everybody else that's going out there in planning out the places they want to winch and the places that they think they should winch, and also the places that you know that you can actually say, like, oh man, I can now deploy this winch faster, save the car, and be able to hammer it down faster when I get back to the desert section.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very cool thing that I'm very stoked to finally have that thing like out in the world and be talking about. So that's those, and we have a couple other things too. So that combination between some of that lightweight things, even with our RRP, and using our pulleys and those types of things in that environment is just so key, man, because you can just deploy it faster, get some of these techniques out under your belt, and then, man, you're just saving yourself all kinds of time.
Yeah.
Did you say how long it was? How, like, if it's connected to the eyelet and goes around to the hook, like, how big of a diameter of a loop would that make?
You have give or take, you have about 14 to 16 inches.
Okay.
Right. I think that the tag itself says 24 inches, right, because of how long it is.
Yeah.
Once you choke it down to get there, but you basically have a whole diameter of usable space of over a foot.
Cool.
Nice.
So it's big. So now when you think about that, like, you know, especially because the race cars are super lightweight, you know, and everything, you know, you can get away with pretty much anything, you know, out there in the heat of battle. But that gives you the opportunity where, like, dude, even if you had to winch to somebody's axle, that thing could just snap around and get around an axle housing. It could get around any kind of pieces of all of the tubing or roll cages or, you know, slider options or anything that's like that, right? So it's a very, very effective little tool to interject in there. Something that's so simple, man, can make the biggest difference, right?
Yep.
So very excited. And now to pair that up, especially with the new line of winches that Warren has just launched this year, we now have our Xeon XD, right? Just launched back in June. So we now have a 10,000 and 12,000 pound option that's available. And then we will have even newer winches that I can only say that they're coming, but there's newer winches that we'll be releasing one right before SEMA. And then there'll be a bunch of new stuff that we'll be showing off at SEMA this year, as well as a brand new build a brand new company build. That's a huge truck that we got that is going to be gangster. Like I'm telling you, dude, like I am so stoked about it because this truck is going to be a great recovery tool, a great asset for us as an organization. And then it can also double to be used as even a chase truck. It's going to be, you guys this build is going to be sick. I'm really excited about that. That's what's going to be in our booth at SEMA this year too.
At first, I was thinking of something like Dang Brothers Pizza with their fire engine. It's just showy,
so cool.
right? But it sounds like this application's actually useful.
Yeah, this is going to be a very functional tool, and I'm really excited on that end too.
Okay.
So because one thing, in case you guys didn't know, so what ended up happening is after I was on the first time. Since then, I'm also doing all the brand activation management stuff for Warren as well.
Oh,
so
wow.
now I'm doing it for both brands. Yeah.
Okay.
Congratulations, I guess.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Yep.
Congratulations, you got more work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hooray. So it's been a very cool thing. We're super. I'm really excited to continue to be involved with the team there. And then over the last year, especially. Since this has happened, I'm now have really gotten to take over a lot more stuff with Warren Industries as well. And so it's been, it's just been a phenomenal experience. And so it's been able to really help with working with their engineering team directly. We just launched a whole podcast video that's on the Warren YouTube channel where it's myself, Tom Pash, one of our senior product managers, and Darren Fretz, who's one of the long-standing industrial engineers and designers at Warren. And we do an entire breakdown there where you can check it out on the Warren YouTube channel. It's a whole 12-minute video where we blow the entire winch apart and you get to see all of the individual components of what makes up the brand new generation of the Xeon. So it's pretty phenomenal, man. Like the team has just been killing it.
Yeah. What is new about the new? I didn't realize you guys launched a new Xeon in June. What's new and fancy? Some of the features of them.
So one of the cool things about this winch is that it's got the fastest no load line speed of any low mount winch in its class.
Really?
So any other low mount winch that's out in the market, this one is the fastest. So what that means is, like you guys all know, when you're winching yourself through a rock garden, right, and you're trying to get up through this trail, eventually what's going to happen is you're going to catch up to the winch, right? Yeah. You're going to move forward, and then the chances of you driving over the winch line are pretty big.
Yeah.
But like anybody else, right, that is involved with like wheeling or wheels a lot, momentum is your friend, especially to carry that momentum through like a valley or a riverbed there of like rocks, right? So this allows you to not only be winching to get you moving or to go through there, but as you are back under your own power moving, to suck in that line fast enough so you don't have to wait around to try to avoid not driving over the winch line. And then the other thing is, when you're done with the recovery, when you go to suck in the winch line, like you're also not like waiting around, dude, like walking the thing back on the drum. You know what I mean? That thing just rips itself back underneath there. And it's an incredible accomplishment that these guys did, getting the new motors, the new stuff that's going on there. Some things I did not know, for all the 8274 fans out there, myself included, with the new contactors, right? So we use an Albright solenoid, right? That's in the winches, and Albright actually makes a specific Warren mount, which I was unaware of. I did not know that. And they make a specific Warren Albright that goes into these. And so the control pack is all metal now, and it's completely water sealed.
Nice.
And one of the coolest features of this is that between the motor, the drum, the transmission, and the gear housing, everything has got an actual OEM grade silicone gasket. So what happens is that when that winch comes out of the box 10 years from now, it is going to be just as watertight and as waterproof and all of these things. You can pressure wash this thing. You can pack it with mud. You can do whatever you want to do with this thing. And that winch is still going to operate exactly the same as from the day that you bought it. It is, I mean, it's a phenomenal upgrade. It's got all new OEM hardware, right? Because of all the OE relationships that we have, where we supply the winches to Ford, Toyota, to Jeep, right? So there's not going to be any fading that has happened with the Xeon in the past. And then for anybody listening, if you have a Xeon winch and your worn W has faded, your sticker, your little bubble sticker, the top of your pack is faded, you can call or email customer service at cs@warn.com and we will send you a replacement. That will not happen anymore. So
Nice.
I'm making a shout out there, let everybody know we took care of all of these problems. So it's basically all of the fixes that needed to be done. Just basically, even with the first generation Xeon has really, everything's been upgraded. And even though it has a little bit similar styling, it's a whole new ball game for a different winch. And it's also only coming in a 10,000 and 12,000 pound capacity currently, and only with a synthetic rope option. It does not come with steel cable anymore.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah, those are some really nice features. I know that's always a big thing when you're winching somebody. You always have to tell them to stop moving because they're about to run over the rope, right? And you always have to dedicate one person to watching the winch line to make sure the person doesn't drive over the winch line or your strap or whatever it is. Driving over your recovery lines are always a big thing. I'm a huge victim, I guess, of slow winch speeds. I guess because I hate after winching somebody or using my winch sitting there and winching the line back in, and I hate waiting for other people to winch their lines back in. I'm always constantly telling people, we don't got time for this. Just wrap your line around your bumper. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Come on.
Right. I mean, so you even think about it from the airing the tires down or airing up, right? You guys have problem solved to make, and dude, there's such a great, the second episode of the Hell and Back Adventures just dropped on Sunday, and it starts with these guys winching across a river in Tennessee, and it is, dude, it's phenomenal, dude,
Nice.
right?
Yeah.
It's so good. And you get to really see what that line speed, especially with the winch being buried where they have water coming in the cars. I mean, these guys are on 42-inch tires and the water is still coming into the vehicle. And where you can see like Marvin's a tall guy. For those of you who've never met him in person, I mean, he's 6'4", right? I mean, he's a big dude. And so the water line on his Jeepster was like to my chest, right?
Jeez.
So, and that winch was buried, in water the entire time, works flawlessly through this entire river crossing, right? And so you can that you're going to be able to get yourself out of the situation faster, just like when it comes down to airing up and airing down your tires.
Yeah.
That much easier and faster because what it is, I think that so many people, and why I still think that our culture shames winching is because of how long it takes.
Totally.
Right.
Yep.
It's because it's a time suck. No matter what you do, it takes time and it takes effort to do that. And if you can shorten the time, people will be more likely to do it.
Yep.
Right. Save the rig. You know what I mean? Take your chances, wheel your lines, do the thing. But man, when it's like, there's been plenty of times where I'd rather just pull the cable and get up and over something so I don't have to be like working on my diff in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
That's Jimmy was just talking about that on a trip he did last Monday, where he exactly that. They were in a situation. He was like, dude, let's just pull a cable. It's a tool. We have it. It's going to be so much quicker than sitting here and trying to struggle our way up this. Let's just go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly, man.
Yeah. And it was funny because we ended up deciding to pull them backwards instead of pulling them forward. And the Jeep that was behind the Toyota, which of course the Jeep loved pulling the Toyota, right? But he drove he drove closer than I would have driven just so he didn't have to pull a lot of cable out. So he didn't have to pull that cable back in, right? He only drove far enough that he could just get the guy off the rock. Then he only had to pull, a small amount of cable back onto his drum. So, just to save him that amount of time. But it sounds like the new winch solves that problem for everybody.
Well, dude, and exactly in that situation, because that's the right thing to save time. But if you're not pulling enough rope off the drum, the winch isn't pulling at its max capacity.
Yep.
That's true.
So you're doing yourself a disservice. You know what I mean? By thinking that you're saving because you're saving the time, right? So this is one of those things that problem solves the situation and really just makes it such a better product. I mean, I was really excited to do the launch. We did a whole thing and, it goes through the entire assembly line process. in the videos on the Warren YouTube channel too as well, you can see the broach machines that we have in the factory that are stamping the gears out. The assembly line, all the people that are powder coating the casings and and building these winches in Clackamas, Oregon. You know what I mean? Like it's very cool. It's a very, very cool thing. And so that's leading up to all the new products we have yet to come that we are, they're going to be dropping here just within the next 6 weeks, right? Leading up to SEMA. So
perfect.
Very exciting.
Very cool, man. Is there any other new products you want to get to before we start chatting about some myth busting?
Yeah. So a couple of things. We also just released the RRP XXL. So we do have the larger diameter ring that we just developed. So that pulley is now going to be able to be used with rope diameters all the way up to 7/8. So even close to 1 inch rope diameter. So it's an industrial product.
Yeah.
But it has a much larger inner radii. And so that way it will, you can actually still even use it with your regular conventional winch if you want a bigger pulley. So that is that's an option now too that we just released. That will also be paired up. We do have a new standard duty soft shackle that has 170,000 pound braking strength that can also be paired with, right? Just given the size and diameter.
Yeah.
So now with, as we've gone on here for the years and built up with especially with the industrial and defense division at Warren Industries, you have so many of our customers, right, that we are also supplying these parts out to, all the way up to our 30K hydraulic winches and all of our large frame stuff, our Series Gen 2 things and like that are being built there in Clackamas as well. So the new RRP XXL is a big feature and a neat piece that we've been wanting to add in there. We did get all of our industrial line of soft shackles. So we have our kinetic ropes all the way up to 2.5 inches in diameter that have a 200,000 pound braking strength, our 1.1 soft shackles, and all of those things. I mean, we have these. Now we have extreme duty versions of our soft shackles that have all the way up to 300,000 pound braking strengths.
Oh my God.
So for our mining equipment, agricultural, all the stuff. So we are kind of backfilling all of that. So we'll have even more products, specific to our industrial line that we'll be releasing out here soon. So that's kind of a big backfill that we're doing, as well as wanting to put together a full heavy duty recovery kit that will be for a lot of larger trucks for bigger applications. We also released our Ultra Guard. Our Ultra Guard is a soft shackle sleeve that is actually woven polyester and Dyneema fiber, and this material is essentially cut proof, and that is so it's not like a simple Cordura sleeve on a soft shackle. This is something that's really robust, something to where you can actually put the soft shackle around something sharp and give it a lot of abuse and not have to worry about damaging the synthetic fibers underneath of it. And so that's a really cool little piece. Was released in the Ultra Guard. Was another one that we had out there. And then I'm trying to think of what the other one was. We had the Ultra Guard, and I think that rounds it out for Factor 55. And on the Warren end, we just released those two things. We do have some other cool new power sports products that's also coming out for UTVs that will be also. We're just in a really weird window here, man. Like in about a month, we'll have a lot more to talk about. So I can't really drop it yet, but there's a ton of stuff still coming. That we've been really getting after, and even more stuff we'll have released before King of the Hammers. So really cool.
Nice.
In regards to the hammer strap, does it have that same sleeve in the center that's kind of cut proof, or what was that? Just the Cordura sleeve?
That's just Cordura.
Okay.
So we just did that just because of the Ultra Guard material is a lot denser, and because of that, it's also a lot heavier.
Sure.
Right. So again, it was just the weight savings.
Right.
And whereas, most of the time, a strap being around a rock does not seesaw. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really. It can shift. But usually once it's set and tension is on that line, it's going to find its home and kind of live there. So it's only there as just a protective end to keep from, marring up the polyester underneath. It is the same single ply high dense polyester, which makes up like the 2-ply straps of like the shorties, the tree savers, and our regular toe straps, just in that one single ply. So even that by itself is actually pretty abrasion resistant. So it's just an added bit of safety to put on there.
Sure.
So that's why we just opted with the quarter there.
Right. And then also following up with the hammer strap, I don't think you talked about the braking strength on that. How does that compare to the normal strap being a double ply where this one's a single ply? And does shortening it up help with the braking strength or hurt it?
Oh, so great question. So clearly on the label, right, everything is called out, right?
Yeah.
So you have just like every other product that we do. So you have the straight line pull, you have your basket where you're wrapping around something, grabbing the two eyelets, and then you have the choke. And each one of those has their own set braking strengths. So in comparison to like the standard duty toe strap, end to end, eye to eye, that will break at 31,000 pounds. And as a 2-ply. And so the hammer strap eye to eye will break at 15,000 pounds, right? Eye to eye,
Makes
end
sense.
to end.
Yep.
But when you wrap it around, which is intended to be used in that basket configuration, and you're capturing the two eyelets, then the braking strength is 31,000 pounds, right?
Okay.
So that's the place that it's supposed to be used in. And again, you go back to your standard 3/8 diameter winch line will fail anywhere on average from 17 to 22,000 pounds. So it's still stronger than the rope. The rope is always the fuse in the scenario, as it should be.
Yeah, your winch line rope. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So it has all the built-in, functionality to make sure that it's also thinking like, like the cars are only getting bigger, they're only getting stronger, but 5,000 pounds is about the average of any race car for the most part. So, dude, it's the perfect setup for that application and for most average trail rigs as it is anyway.
Yeah.
So for the guy that's got like, kind of a buggy, or is in that sense where he's right in between, that realm of guys where you're no longer in a Jeep or just a rock crawler Toyota. But you're not maybe at a full tube chassis, but you're somewhere in the middle. This is still also that same perfect application for those types of rigs as well.
Nice.
That's all my follow-up questions. I'm ready for some myth busting.
Yeah. I actually wanted to ask, when you guys do have a pretty sizable industrial and defensive stuff going on right now, was that there before the recreation stuff, or did you develop the industrial stuff based on a lot of what you learned out of the recreation space, or vice versa?
Kind of both and everything all at once, actually. So what ended up happening is, you'll find that a lot of these fleet service companies, utility companies, phone companies, right? Power, water, all these things. Especially these guys that are going to service cell phone towers. Department of Transportation. We actually just did an entire day of winch training with the South Carolina DOT after Smoky Mountain Jeep invasion in Tennessee.
Nice.
We went to South Carolina and trained these guys. Well, here are a bunch of dudes that are showing up with their work trucks, for just an example, that are still using 10 or 12,000 pound winches on the front of their work trucks. Dude, they're showing up to work in their Honda Civic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're showing up to work in like their sedan in their car. They're not, you know what I mean? And this is the work truck that they're jumping in. It just happens to have this tool strapped to the front of it. Well, those guys aren't doing vehicle recovery.
No.
Those guys, their whole mission is to move down trees out of the road. So that way they can get traffic moving again, right?
Yeah.
So how to train those guys is way different than talking about somebody that's actually trying to extract vehicles out of the side of a ditch or out of a ravine or doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was a really interesting change to be able to give a lot of this information to like DOT and share with them like what the capabilities of this product is if they just have a handful of accessories that can use it with. So it was a really phenomenal training session that we had.
Nice.
So because of that, that's where like that recreational side has already by default has turned into some stuff onto the industrial and, like that fleet service utility side, kind of all at the same time.
Yeah.
Because those winches are still the winches that are capable of doing that. It's only when you really get into doing like, when you're talking about rollback wreckers or those types of like, mobile cranes and those types of things, when you're dealing with those big, heavy hydraulic winches that are on those vehicles where you're purely in the industrial space. So we had always initially developed product Obviously, clearly for the Jeep, truck, and SUV is like the bread and butter of the market.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of that carried over into the military and industrial space always. And Warren has been involved in that. Dude, way before all of us were even born, right? So
yeah.
It's like, so as Factor 55, we had always been working with those with different customers. We actually made a bunch of parts specifically for special forces and Green Berets, things like that,
Wow.
that we never even listed on the website. So there was a bunch of custom stuff that we had done that were just proprietary things that we get approached with, that we can also help on the design standpoint to try to solve those problems.
Yeah.
So it's kind of been one and the same. And as that's,
Gotcha.
as that's carried on, more and more people then just end up, turning into finding the right equipment that can also be Berry compliant, right, and GSA certified in order to sell those products to those branches of the military.
Yeah,
so
for
it's been
sure.
an ongoing thing. Yep.
Yeah, it's really cool to see what Factor 55 and Warren is doing in the rigging space, whether that's winches, whether that's rigging equipment, whatever it is, and how you're constantly finding these new solutions to very niche problems now and coming up with custom solutions for military applications and stuff. And I think it speaks a lot to the whole recovery rigging industry in general as to kind of where you guys sit and how you're really leading the way in different ideas and product lineups and just solutions for problems that you're coming out with. Did you foresee, especially in the off-road space, we see a lot of, I'm trying to find the right words to say this lightly. We see a lot of people trying to copy what Warren and Factor 55 does and the products you guys come out with, and they don't quite hit the mark. They try and copy it, and it gets through the cracks, and people are like, oh, that looks like something that Factor 55 is doing. That looks like something Warren does. Therefore, it's a great product, right? It's a good thing. I'm going to spend my money on it. It's a good value buy, but it's really not.
Yeah.
Did you foresee that? Did you guys, have you ever foreseen that happening? Or like whenever you release a new product, you're like, oh, how long is it going to be until somebody fucks this product up kind of thing?
Dude. Oh my God. I mean, honestly, like when it came to the design standpoint, I never thought it would be as bad as it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like from humble beginnings, taking prototype products in a backpack to the lake bed, trying to show this stuff around to people, to then building like our brand, to then getting acquired by the largest winch manufacturer on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like to go through that, I never thought we would see it in the scale that it is, and the amount of crazy things that people can just blurt on the internet to try to validate whatever that they are trying to say is their idea or best practices, or even what they would consider to be a good recovery technique.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable, man, the way that works. And so that was part of the big reason when it came to releasing our vehicle recovery manuals,
mm-hmm.
and doing something where we had a standard set of written material that could be referencing for the average user. Now,
Gotcha.
there's a lot of really good quality recovery trainers out there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of super knowledgeable guys that have tons of good information, from the I4WDTA to, Overland Experts to, there's tons of guys, right?
Yep.
Like in these organizations that do high-end training in that way. And something that blew my mind about this was just a couple of years ago, from being out at Johnson Valley. I remember talking to some guys who were talking about bringing like the SEAL teams out from Coronado to do this training out in Johnson Valley, because that it's such a location for side-by-side training, for shock development, all these things, right? Because it's the largest OHV area in the country is right there.
Yeah.
And so because of that, you think on a high level thing, like, dude, let's talk about Navy SEALs, right? These guys are the most badass dudes on the planet, right? These guys are elite warriors. They're the guys, right? But some of those dudes don't know how to ride a bike.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
They're
Like
specialized.
They're very specialized. They're hammer straps.
They grew up in Brooklyn They never rode a bike growing up. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But they can, you know what I mean? But they can pick you off a mile out. You know what I'm saying? They're like, fly a helicopter. You know what I mean? Do all these crazy things. So even at that capability, some of those dudes don't even understand that whole thing of like when to put the vehicle in 4-wheel drive or when to air the tires down,
Wow.
right? How to turn into a dune correctly.
Yeah.
So that's why it's train, retrain, train, retrain, right? And it really gets in that same kind of thing when it came to those vehicle recovery techniques. And we're the same kind of thing where, you know, race recovery is way different than regular recovery. When we're on the, you know, we're on the Rubicon, we're in Moab, we're in Sand Hollow. We all have the time to set our stuff out right based on the fact to make sure that a human is safe, right? As long as everybody is safe and it's not, you know, a crazy life-threatening situation, you know that you can limit the rush factor.
Yeah.
In racing, seconds count, right? And so you're mitigating, you want to mitigate all the risks as much as possible. But dude, like you're not doing everything by the book because it doesn't matter. I'm getting to the next thing. I'm trying to pass the guy. I'm trying to get, you know what I mean? Get the car moving. And so it's the same kind of idea. We're talking to these, different military groups, just like training that we've done with the weapons of mass destruction hazmat team that's out here at Gowan Field. Like when you start to like see what they're utilizing the tool that the winch is on the front of the vehicle and what it's capable to help in their mission, then it becomes the quality of the stuff and techniques of how you can help them. Because, dude, if you had to winch a vehicle, for instance, like you were stuck and you were taking gunfire, like, I mean, are you going to worry that where the shackle pin is? You know what I mean? Like,
whether the hook is up or down.
Yeah, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to get it done.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a time and place for all of those things, but that's where part of the whole deal is like, you know, there are certain fundamentals that should be always, I think, adhered to and discussed about, because that allows you to know where the play area is in involvement of how to deploy those techniques appropriately and safely, as safe as possible. Anyway.
Yeah. So there's that's kind of a good lead into sort of myth busting, because like you said, this idea of doing myth busting kind of came about because I remember seeing something online and I was like, that doesn't seem right at all. I have a pretty good understanding how physics works, and that does not seem safe. That does not seem like it's a good recommendation. I remember sending it to you, and you were just like, yeah, that guy's on crack or something like that. And I was like, how many more shit like this is out there that is educating people to have unsafe recovery techniques and habits? And so you said that you were doing a bunch of destructive testing and ways of rigging things that some other companies were saying, yeah, you can do this. This is how you rig this product. And you're like, you shouldn't do that way, or doing it that way doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And you did the destructive testing on it to prove it.
Yeah. So a couple of things that we are going to release and start to talk about. One of which was initially the using screwing the pin of a bow shackle all the way tight, right? I think a lot of us know that, okay, well, if you get into a place to where you're going to tighten the bow of the shackle all the way in, and then you're going to back it off half a turn or just a quarter turn to keep it loose. Because what happens is that during a recovery or during load being applied into that shackle, like, dude, you have to have either a marlin spike or a screwdriver or something to go through the end of the shackle pin to break the pin loose. Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Now, in that scenario, a lot of things you could say, yes, it is more secure by seating the pin all the way against the ears of the shackle. But when you talk about strength and it being, well, that's the strongest configuration of how that shackle is used. Okay. Well, now that's different, right?
Okay.
When we're talking about security, or more secure, or we're talking about strength.
Yeah.
So we went through this whole process where we took the pin of the shackle and tightened it all the way in. We backed it off a quarter turn, backed it off a half a turn, and then even backed it off a full turn, and then broke a 3/4 inch Crosby shackle. And the result of that is every single one of those shackles broke above the minimum breaking strength listed on the part.
Wow.
Period.
Nice. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like if somebody's going to be like, well, you better seat that pin all the way in there. Like, why?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it's literally, it's not, it doesn't change anything. Yeah. Right. You can say something about being more secure or doing those kinds of things. But one of the things that we always talk about in our training is that if you are going to set up, a recovery using hard shackles, I think the more is the technique, right? You always want the pin end of the shackle facing up. If your rigging can get set up correctly, you want the pin facing up. And the reason being is because during slack and tension, you could unthread the pin.
Yeah.
And if it's facing down, the pin could fall out.
Yep.
So then the idea is, okay, well, I'm going to seat this thing all the way in there. Well, dude, you're going to need channel locks or a spike or something to break the shackle pin loose, which most people don't have in their, usually with
in
them
their
on
pocket.
their person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in this sense, we always talk about the old school joke is if you screw down, you never screw up.
That's a fair
Right?
point. We've talked about that a lot with steering components, because a lot of times your steering components have a vertical bolt, right? And so we always tell people,
Of course.
if you're putting a bolt vertically, always put it so that the nut is on the bottom, bolt is on the top. And
that way, if the nut backs off, the bolt doesn't fall out.
Exactly.
Yep. It seems so obvious, right? To a point, but it's exactly that same kind of idea.
Yeah.
So when you go through the process and you do that, it's just like when you put the winch line back onto the winch drum, right? If you're standing in front of the winch, and the right technique is to go hand over hand, put a little back pressure on the line, so that way you can actually evenly spool the rope back onto the drum. And you can either do that by holding onto the winch controller in one hand and then moving the line and making sure it's not in between your legs, doing this whole thing to get the line back on the drum, or you can have your buddy hold the winch controller while you're doing this.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is when we do this type of training, or we do these types of, winching 101 classes with people, I'll get to have 10 people there, man. And 9 people do it right, and the one guy does it wrong. You know what I mean? Lets the line just slide through his hands, does all these things, doesn't pay attention to where the rope is behind him, or standing on top of the rope, or it's getting around his ankle, or all these things, right? Because it's a weird mechanic. It's a weird muscle memory thing to build in. It's the same thing with using like a conventional winch hook in the down position or in the up position.
Yeah.
And we all know, right? The same reason why we built those finger grips in the bottom of the Ultra Hook, that a hook throat opening should always face the sky. It should always be facing up, because if a hook were ever to tip load or open, it shoots the force towards the ground instead of coming down on something, which peels it open and shoots it back at the vehicle.
Yeah.
So some of those, but us as human beings, like even if I took a carabiner and I went up to something, you want to throw your hand down. You want to snap it on.
Yep.
So
handcuffs.
To come up to, dude,
so
exactly.
That's how I know that one.
so to come up from, I think we have a little other thing to talk about here, Tyler.
Right.
But to get through that mechanics of going up to something and actually turning the hook throat opening around and coming up and snapping it up from underneath, that is a process. It is it is a muscle memory thing that has to be built in. And dude, I can't even tell you how many times people will send us pictures of the Ultra Hook, and it be, they'll send it to us like attached, because it's engraved on the body of the hook.
Yeah.
Ultra Hook, right?
Yep. And
with the hook throat facing down, you can read it correctly. So they're like, check out this cool photo. And I'm like, that's cool. You used it wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
flip it over.
And part of the deal, the reason why we did that is because 99% of the time, the hook is up against the fair lead surface. So the pin attachment hole is facing the ground. So water, dirt, mud doesn't collect in the pinhole while you're using it. So that's why it's engraved that way, so you can read it while it's on the front of the vehicle. But when it's in use, you should be grabbing it from the finger grips and hooking it up from underneath, right?
Yep.
So that's why I've been wanting to get a t-shirt made that says hook up with Factor 55.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. So so that's a big one.
Yeah. That's a big one. Let's go over, there was a big hubbub over soft shackles at one point, and I remember asking you about it and where you place the knot of the soft shackle once everything is hooked up together, and where you place it makes a huge difference in the strength of the soft shackle and the safety of the soft shackle.
Yeah. So we went through that whole process and went through there and actually put the soft shackles in the test bed, where we put the knot up against the pulling force. We put the knot up against the load, and then we put the knot directly in the middle, and then broke them all in those configurations. And the knot in the middle was actually performed the strongest out of all of those.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because what it comes down to is about quality, right? Now, when it comes into this, the rigging technique when utilizing a soft shackle correctly, if you're buying from a high quality manufacturer, not just us, there are plenty of other companies that make a quality soft shackle. How that soft shackle was spliced and how it was built will ultimately dictate its performance and its strength. That's the point. There's some stuff right there, rope quality, all these things, right? There are definitely variables that go in there.
Yeah.
But in a general sense, if you have a soft shackle where the loop is just spliced right back into the main body of itself, then yes, you should focus on trying to make sure that you lock the knot, right?
Yep.
That is a good best practice, because what can happen is if you don't milk up the body of that shackle around that noose could end up being way wide and loose. And that knot does have the potential to fall out in that situation.
Yeah.
But if you buy from a high quality manufacturer like ourselves and some others, that noose is self-tightening under load. And so in that scenario, no matter what you do, when that thing is seeing force, that noose is getting tighter around the knot. And literally makes no difference where that thing is sitting on one end or the other when it comes to being able to perform a successful recovery. It doesn't matter. It literally just doesn't matter. So it's always about paying attention to the gear that you're buying and not just whatever pops up for the best deal and the best, the best thing you see come across that you feel convinced about from a Facebook ad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Who's got $5 soft shackles on Black Friday this year? That's what I'm going with.
Oh my God. Yes, geez. Well, dude, and we go back to that same thing. What happened earlier this year with that Amazon soft shackle breaking and the kinetic rope coming through the windshield of that Bronco. You know what I mean? Like, you have something to where a guy had used a soft shackle well enough, had thought it was good enough, but that Amazon soft shackle, it might have been great when it first was purchased, but 2 years of it rolling around in the back of the truck, getting wet, not drying out properly, not being cleaned, those fibers broke down so fast that just under a good hard pull, boom, the thing exploded. Right? So, I mean, there are so many variations that go through there, and that's about understanding how to mitigate those risks as possible. But man, when you're buying a high quality soft shackle like that, where the knot placement is, I prefer to always put it in the middle anyway, because just like from using them and recovering so many vehicles, once that noose is really tight around that knot, if it's in the middle, what happens is, if you can kind of visualize this, the knot is up through the middle of that noose. And as the load happens, the knot tends to roll almost level to where it's putting the base of the knot in the shear that way. And there's also two different styles of knots. You'll see some soft shackles where they'll have a knot where you can clearly see where they cut the tails off and then burned the end of the fibers to cover that there. That is called a diamond knot. And then the knots that we use on our soft shackles is called a button knot. And the button knot splices back down into itself where the legs get buried into the body of the soft shackle itself, which inherently makes the soft shackle stronger. Right. So when you see down, and I show people this at all the events we go to, I could literally, you can walk up to the booth, I can set the rope down on the table, I can show you how those knots are built and how we splice those soft shackles together. And so when you see that, you start to understand, like, oh man, like, this is really, what I mean? These are the differences, right? And sometimes it's so hard to convey that in a social post, right? Or just even talking about it. When you have that, when you're holding the parts with side by side, then you can really feel the quality difference and know the care that's being put into it. And that's exactly why we put serial numbers with lot traceability for manufacturing dates and all these things on every single synthetic piece of gear. And then we also even have that available for the even the lot traceability on the aluminum that we machine all of our parts out of too as well.
Jeez, nice. Yeah, that's a big thing. I do have a couple other myth busting topics I want to ask you about, but I do want to, since we're on this topic, that's one of the things that makes Factor 55 unique is your attention to quality and traceability of materials, source materials, lot tracing, batch, not just batch testing, but you guys do a lot to ensure the quality of your product. So go over that a little bit, because I don't think the average consumer, the average podcast listener truly understands the depths that you guys go through in order to ensure quality, that this stuff is A, going to last a long time, and B, it's going to be extremely one of the safest things that you can buy. If you are buying a Factor 55 product, you know you're going to be safe with it.
Yeah. So one of the important factors that comes into that is when you're talking about those fibers, or you're talking about even like how the straps are sewn together, because of those individual serial numbers, if there's ever a defect or a problem that you have with your strap, it literally can go, or soft shackle, you literally can go back to the workstation of the person who assembled it. Right.
Wow.
And so that's a big deal, because now we can go all the way down to saying like, okay, if we had an issue, we have to look at this batch of numbers to know if there was a problem, because they're being built for vehicle and life safety, essentially. Right. And so because of that stringent process really keeps us honest. Right. And so but that's also where it comes with a slightly higher cost. But I mean, dude, if you're talking about buying an imported cheap soft shackle that was built who knows where by who knows who, for $25 or $30, or you can actually buy something that was an American made product with that traceability and knowing that you have somebody on the other end of the phone that's going to take care of you if you ever have an issue, isn't that worth another $15?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so that gets in that whole buy once, cry once type of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I've had, and I think that there's so much value that really goes into that, because you really can get somebody on the phone that can help you and go through all of these things to help you for the best case use of the part, on top of knowing that when that thing is sitting in the back of your vehicle or you've left it out, I mean, dude, you can get away with a lot of stuff with bad equipment. It is possible. People do it every day, right? It happens all the time. But what's that going to look like in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? You know what I mean? And the one thing I think that a lot of people don't think about is also synthetic goods, like just replacing the winch line on your winch at some point, are consumables.
Yes.
They are a consumable product. And when they see wear or they see a lot of abuse, they need to be replaced. And that comes down to the same thing, even with just like replacing your Heims, just like replacing your tires. These are consumable items. And depending on how they're taken care of is going to dictate when those should be replaced. Now, the advantage of high quality materials is that they are going to last longer, period. Right. That period. Right. You can buy junk everything out in the world. But if you have something that is robust and made well, it is just going to last longer. And that's one of the biggest things that we focus on for quality material, the quality of machining, and the quality of the synthetic rigging manufacturing that we offer.
Yeah, I mean, it is really impressive. I know I've talked with you a little bit lengths about your guys' quality control processes, and it really, I mean, it was the inspiration behind all the quality control testing that we do at Morflate, in order to make sure that, just like you said, when you buy something that's Factor 55, you know there's not going to be an issue with it. And if for some reason you do end up having some weird issue with it, you know that because of all the quality control processes, you get in contact with the company. Obviously, they care about it. They will most likely trace that back, figure out what the problem was during production, during assembly. Maybe Jimmy came to work drunk that day and nobody noticed during assembly.
So a perfect example in this scenario was recently we had a customer that called us because they got a soft shackle, and when you have the noose split the line and come back down in there as a soft shackle is being built, you have those 12 strands that the rope is made up of. And you want that thing to pierce through the center section. So you have six strands and 6 strands on either side, right? Well, a guy had gotten a soft shackle and actually inspected it and found out that this soft shackle was 8 and 4. That it didn't actually go through the center section of the soft shackle.
Okay.
I mean, dude, it happens, right? That is an easy thing to easily, as you're expanding synthetic rope open and piercing the line through there when you're splicing rope. That's an easy thing that could happen. And so this customer was like, look, it's 8 and 4, showed us the whole pictures. Now, in the scheme of things, as far as braking strength goes, would it really affect it? Probably not that much. But the point is that he found a problem with it. We were able to take that serial number and go straight back to the desk of the person and be like, yeah, Jim. Hey there, bud. A little hungover today? Huh? Yeah, can't see all the lines? Like, what's up there, pal? So
yeah.
6, I see 12.
I know.
Yeah, exactly, dude. So because of that, it really gets in that thing that we're easily being able to like, yeah, man, let's get that back and get you a new one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
We can take care of the customer in a much better way like that. Whereas what else are you going to do? If you got that from Amazon, you're going to send it back to Amazon, and now it's just going to get recirculated, and then somebody else who doesn't care might be at risk because they didn't pay attention enough to it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's also a way for us to ensure that the products that we're sending out are also going to stay safe with the customer base as much as possible.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, so let's get back to some myth busting. I do have 2. I remember one of them very vividly because I don't know how much this has been addressed. I know it was another kind of big hubbub in the recovery world. The rope retention pulleys and the donuts that multiple companies have come out with that copy that same design as the rope retention pulley. There's a couple of companies out there saying you can use that pulley as a mechanical advantage by looping your line back through the center of the pulley. And that's just fine. That's not going to have any issues on the line, that you can do it. And there's a lot of people that are like, no, you're putting extra friction on the line, extra stress on the line, extra stress on the pulley. What is the verdict on that one?
Yeah. So as far as that goes, I mean, our opinion, I can't say much about, well, I mean, I could say a lot, but I can't say, specifically for the way that those products are being marketed, you know what I mean? But the idea of that is just rope sliding across the surface creates friction.
Yep.
And even when we released the RRP, we never, ever said that it was a direct replacement for a true oil impregnated bearing snatch block, right?
Yep.
You can't sacrifice, you can't get something for nothing. You know what I mean? So you sacrifice weight, and multiple pieces of gear and all these things, but you give up frictional loss because of that. Yeah. And depending on the load, it could be as much as 10 to 20%. But now when you're looking at that 10 to 20% mark frictional loss, are you still gaining mechanical advantage? Absolutely. Right. But you're also gaining to where it's one piece. You don't have to worry about the rope falling out. You can set the rigging faster and doing those types of things. But is it the true most efficient tool to use? It might not be for your scenario, but is it good for 90% of the people? Absolutely.
Nice.
Now, when you start to do this thing with doing some of these other things where you have a rub block or something that's generating even more friction because of non-spinning devices, the truth of the matter is that it will start to deteriorate the line faster, period.
Okay.
Like that's just what's going to happen. And will it work? Yeah, sure. It will work to a point, especially for the average user who may only use it once a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're wheeling a lot, you're wheeling every weekend, you're doing a lot of recovery work and doing these things, or you're doing really hard and heavy pulls, you're just going to damage your equipment further. And if it were up to me, for people saying like, well, with these spinning rings, I'm going to deteriorate my soft shackle. Well, I'd rather replace a $40 soft shackle than a $300 winch rope.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so that's a great answer. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's a cool party trick that does work, but it's not what it was really designed for. And so if you're going to be doing it a lot, just get the correct tool for that job.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know what I mean? So sometimes, and sometimes it sets up and, and it takes a lot more effort. There's a lot more, right? And you got to think about it. Every time when you're using pulleys and you're using this kind of stuff, and especially with some of the new products, that I can just hint here that we are going to be releasing, which are going to be just awesome, dude. I cannot wait to come back on to talk to you guys about with the stuff that's in development. Like, dude,
are we going to be getting nerdy over mechanical advantage numbers?
Bro, I'm telling you, dude, it is going to be so good. I cannot even tell you. I'm so excited about what the future is going to hold here for what is yet to come. I'm so excited about this. And, nice. But when it comes into this use, best case scenarios in these, Like, man, like, yeah, you can get away with it, but you got to remember that every time that you start to use any type of pulley for mechanical advantage, you're pulling all that rope off of your winch,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And you're going to need more line.
Mhm.
And so if I'm having to recover a vehicle that's 100 feet down off a cliff, or, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like if I go to set up a 2-to-1, I can't even get to that guy.
Yeah.
Even at just a simple 2-to-1.
Yep.
You start to do some of the advanced recovery techniques with even using like our load distribution plate
Yeah.
or multiple pulleys, like we talked about in the first time I was on, like using some of these advanced rigging techniques with like a Spanish Burton, right? Getting 4-to-1 mechanical advantage with 2 pulleys.
Yeah.
For those types of scenarios, you just need more rope. And you're going to need more things to do that. Well, if you start to go to do these 4 parts and 5 parts of line and all these things, like, dude, you have to be so close to the vehicle if you're not carrying all this extra stuff to make it work even to begin with, which again is like, because of the frictional losses that can happen in those things, the type of pull that you're trying to get, it's just not going to equate to it. You're not going to get the maximum load that you really need to get out of there. And a lot of these videos are saying, yeah, see, it works. Oh, this is how it's done. Cool, man. Then clearly the pull was not as heavy as you claim it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because angle, terrain, weather conditions, they all apply in the scenario. And so there's a lot of factors that go into that. And again, that goes back into getting with either a local trainer, with the guys that you know in your area that are well, or using good reference and sources from reputable brands to understand what's happening there. And that's why we try to provide as much education and opportunities, right, with the product development that we're doing, and then build those safety factors into every piece of kit that we release.
Yeah, that's cool. And then real quick, we're almost out of time, but I sent you an image recently from a company that had a sign. I think it was one of their marketing things, one of their online. I don't remember where I saw it, but it said, "Hook our bridle up to any component on a vehicle." Can you do that? Is that advisable? I don't mean to make you laugh so hard right there. But.
Yeah, I mean, geez, like, yeah, no, don't do that.
Yeah,
some
of the examples they had was your A-arms. Hook our bridle around A-arms to recover a vehicle. Hook your bridle around. There was
my rear view mirrors.
God, it was some pretty stuff. I was just like, what are they telling people?
Dude, it's like hooking up like through the center of a wheel on a vehicle.
Yep.
Dude, those things for the most part, I'll give you an example. In the tow world, we had a guy that came up to us that said that they had actually come across a tractor fire where the semi had burned, and that they needed to remove a bunch of these brand new mid-engine Corvettes on the back of a trailer. And they actually had to, on that thing, on those cars, they're unibody, right? They're all these things. And the wheel is the only load-bearing thing that's on the vehicle, right?
Wow. Yep.
And so in that scenario, they had to go through the center of the wheel, but they were lifting the cars off of the trailer and setting them down.
Okay.
They were not pulling them, right?
Yeah.
And when you start to pull, everything is different.
Yep.
You start to run over equipment. You start to mangle stuff up into things. Before you know it, you're ripping off people's brake lines or their brake calipers. They are not recovery points. Now, can you use a bridle and it lightly attach to the A-arms of a stuck sedan and pull them out? Of course you can.
Yeah.
I've done it, right?
Yep.
But within a certain point.
Yeah.
But by blanketly saying like, hey, just attach to any part of this vehicle, and then you can just go ahead and do this, especially with like the amount of abuse that people put onto a kinetic rope and just yanking cars out, like that's only going to lead to more failures and injuring people further, which is one of the things that we always discuss about is vehicle sympathy, right? You have to think about that forward progression. You can't just start, dude, if a tow truck driver comes up and the car's on its lid in the middle of the road, that thing's total. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not going anywhere. Dude, put the strap, grab onto it through the windshield. Who cares, right? You're literally moving trash at that point, right? But if we're going across the Serengeti, we got to be moving up waterfalls and all through these different terrains and trying to get to a destination, you better want to think through the scenario of what you're attaching to know, depending on how mired that vehicle is or how stuck you are in the terrain, to have just a general good basis and understanding so you can execute the recovery in the safest method possible. That's why we never just blanketly show that kind of stuff like on our social, because it's just, dude, it's not good information. It's the same reason why when all these people watch their YouTube heroes like do these, they're like, well, so and so did it, so I can do it. That's not the case. You know what I mean? A lot of people need to realize that even in that kind of sense, that's television. You know what I mean? That's TV. Like people are doing it for views and clicks and doing these kinds of things. It's not quality, good educational material. And that's something that really needs to be, I think addressed in our space about what that value really puts on there to make sure that everybody can get home at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And know what to do well that way.
I think there's a big point there too of a lot of those YouTube shows. Stuff happens that doesn't make it on the air that they took into consideration for the recovery effort, or that they did with the rigging that they don't show on the camera anyway. So it's like you're not getting the full story of the recovery either. So don't take the recoveries as educational content, because you're not getting the full story of everything. So
I mean, unless you got a full uncut multi-camera shoot, you know what I mean? But dude, sometimes winching is like watching paint dry. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it definitely is not the most glamorous thing that there is. You know what I mean? And so, but that's where, if you don't split the loads right, if you don't do those things correctly, if you don't put your hands on that equipment, that's how, dude, you could yard people's bumpers off. I mean, how many of these recovery fail videos have we seen? Right. I mean, I posted a video not that long ago where there was a Raptor that was pulling a Bronco, and the guy just like laid on it, and the Bronco was coming across this slick mud thing, and then it just flipped upside down off of this cliff.
I saw that one.
You know what I'm saying? Yep. Hilarious. Like, how are you not going to think that that's, you know what I mean? Like, you're just going to give it the beans and hope for the best. Like, that's not a good plan.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's not a good plan. Right.
Oh man.
So there'll be a ton of information. Like I said, that we are going to be doing right now. We've been doing a ton of destructive testing. So there'll be a lot of videos and content that will be put out about this, in relation to how the equipment should be used and the best practices of where it is. So there's going to be a ton more stuff along with all these new products that will be being released both from Warn and from Factor 55.
That's awesome. That's cool to hear. I'm really happy that you guys are doing that. I don't think that there's very many other companies, if any, out there that are really put that much effort into destructive testing and R&D and making sure that the information that goes out there is good educational information. And my hat's off to you guys for stepping up and being the ones to make that happen. So, yeah.
The data doesn't lie, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As much as, you want to argue with it, science it is what it is, right? I mean, I've heard that over and over again, where like, if you took all these ideas and everything went away, the thing is that anything that is definitely scientific based, we're like, if we got rid of every textbook that we have, we would still figure out those same things because they are just true no matter what, right?
Yep.
And
2
the
plus
data
2
doesn't
always
lie.
equals 4. Yeah.
Yeah, man. The data doesn't lie.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. We're always happy to have you on. We love having episodes with you and getting to sit down and chat and catching up with you and seeing you out at the events and getting nerdy over recovery talk. So it's always a joy to have you on the show.
Oh man, thank you guys so much. And like I said, dude, you guys do amazing work. I love what you guys do for this community, and from all the guests that you have on, and really, man, you dudes are the real deal. And I just love that, man. I can't thank you guys enough for the good that you're putting out into the world.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, cool. If people wanted to reach out to Factor 55 with questions about recovery stuff, minimum braking strengths, what physics are, how could they do that?
Oh, they can check us out at factor55.com. Same thing, on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, you name it, right? All at Factor 55. And the same thing with Warren Industries, right? You can call there. There's a whole dedicated customer service center. Everybody's ready to answer the phone, and you can easily get a hold of me too. You can DM the social pages. I run all the social media for both brands. So if you ever have a question, get in there. There are automated responses. So I always like to say this, so if I don't see it, there's a good chance, because we literally get hundreds of DMs a day.
Yeah.
Right. So if it gets missed, just follow it back up, ping it, bump it to the top of the chain, and we will definitely get back to you and help you out.
Sweet. Jimmy, if people want to get a hold of us, how can they do that?
Yeah, you can get a hold of us. Email Jimmy or Tyler at SnailTrail4x4.com. You can DM us on the socials. I'm over at SnailTrail4x4. Tyler's at 4x4 Toyota Tyler. Or you can phone in and ask us a question for our Friday episode, snail mail, at area code 916-345-4744.
Sweet. Awesome stuff. Final words that we're going to leave everybody here today with. Jimmy, go.
I've got two. I just want to say it was awesome talking with you, Justin, and debunking some of these myths that are out there. That was a lot of fun, and I learned quite a bit, actually, just from this very brief discussion. The second one is I'm wondering when we're going to get you on to do a sax solo or something. Maybe use it as an intro or a mid-roll thing, Yeah. We'll have to figure that out.
Oh, heck yeah, man. I'm down. We'll set that up for the next time, man. Big product releases, and we'll bust out. I'll bust it out in there. Sweet. For sure. Yeah.
Next time Justin's on the episode, we're going to intro the show with a saxophone solo.
Oh man, dude, that's going to be great. Yes, I'm into that.
Justin, final words today for everybody.
I just want to say, hey man, for everybody listening, stay safe out there. Don't just take it blanket for what you see out on the internet. Do the homework, man. Do the research, because that could be the easiest way for you to get home safely. Education is our biggest asset, especially off-road.
Yeah. We definitely agree here on Snail Trail 4x4, and it's one of the things we'd like to try and do, one of the goals for the show. So hopefully everybody enjoys what they're listening to out there, what we're putting out. We'll talk to you guys on Thursday. Everybody enjoy their next couple of days throughout the week, and keep crawling. Oh, do you want to do a joke? Or yes. Welcome, everybody. We got jokes.
Why is the letter B so cold?
I don't know.
Because it's near the AC.
Yeah, that works.
Because it's near the ANC, AC. Yeah.
The AC?
The AC. We'll leave it at that.
That works.
All right.
I'll take it.
Good.